Hope my screen is visible. Type yes in the chat box. If my screen is visible, type yes in the chat box so that I will continue. Okay. My voice is clear, right? Okay, hope it is clear, or else you won't be responding. Okay, today we will develop the first application on top of Spring Framework. So developing first application needs a lot of understanding, because after developing this application, we will use this procedure to understand the future topics. Right? So understanding the beginning is going to be a little tricky. So after understanding the development of a Spring application, the remaining things that we are going to discuss in the future are going to be very easy. So please pay some attention. I will keep this topic very slow. If you have any questions, you can just text in the chat box so that I will unmute and we will discuss. We'll discuss about your questions. Right? I will introduce you some points. We will discuss the application development point by point. Right? So firstly, in order to develop the Spring framework, first Spring application, downloading and installing Eclipse is mandatory. Downloading, please download and install the latest Eclipse. Any Eclipse you can install and download, no issues, but go for the latest Eclipse. It is going to come along with the inbuilt Java versions. Download and install latest Eclipse. You do this part. Okay, I don't think I need to explain this. You try to do the download and perform the installation. If you have any doubts, we will discuss about the download tomorrow. For the time being, we will discuss how to develop the first Spring application. Second point. After downloading and installing the Eclipse, the second point is going to be very, very important. So we will be creating a project. Not an ordinary project. The project is going to be a Maven project. Create a Maven project. And again, now you might be witnessing some questions. What is a Maven project? This is one of the questions that anyone can get when they are learning the frameworks. Maven project. So Maven project, I will give you a brief explanation about the Maven project, and there could be some questions on top of the Maven project. Very simple. The one-line answer can be: it will make you to build the application in a quick way. If you are building an application without the Maven project, it is like, for example, if you want to build an house, it is like you are building an house without any help. Without any help, you are becoming what? You are becoming a contractor, and you are building an house without getting any help, without getting any external help. Right? But if you are getting any external help, like electricians are there, the plumbers are there, the construction workers are there, some manpowers are there. All the departments are involved in an house construction, isn't it? So all the departments, they have some certain contribution, and the house will be discovered, or house will be built on every single day with lot of easiness. Right? Maven project is like that. Creating a Maven project is like that. You don't build the application directly. You take a lot of help. You will take a lot of help from the outside resources. When I say create a Maven project, it means you are building a project by taking some help from the Maven repository. So simply I can say that if anyone is asking you what is a Maven project, Maven is a powerful project management tool. It is a powerful project management tool. Online answer. What is a Maven? Maven is a powerful project management tool. that uses POM. POM stands for, POM is an acronym. It means we can call it as project object. Typically, POM is a file. It is the name of the file. The name of the file is called as POM. POM is an acronym for project object model. By using this file, you can download the dependencies automatically. Instead of downloading the dependencies manually by going to Google, by searching each and every dependency. For example, if your project is required to have 100 dependencies, right? Creating a project without Maven is like you will have to download each and every dependency manually. One by one you have to download, and you have to set these dependencies in the build path, in the class path. The task is going to be very complex. So when a project takes 1 hour to be developed, if you don't use Maven, it is going to take 10 days to be developed, because dependencies are very complicated. You need to search each and every dependencies correctly. Sometimes we humans, we make a lot of mistakes, right? To avoid that, there is a concept called develop a project on top of Maven. So Maven is going to do these things for you. It is going to download the dependencies, it is going to manage the dependencies, and it is going to set the resources exactly in the right path. As simple as that. Right? I can simply say that it is used to build projects, dependencies, and create documentations. Understand one thing, whenever you are trying to develop a project, you need to take care of dependencies and you need to take care of the project building path, and apart from that you also need to take care of the documentation. Without documentation you cannot submit it to the clients. Client expect a lot of documentation. Whenever you are creating any classes, any packages, client is going to accept the documentation, because client usually will not rely on the source code. They rely on documentation. So these things will be taken care by default. These things are taken care by the Maven project. Create a Maven project. All these things will be taken care automatically. You as a developer, you do not have to put much concentration on these particular things, especially the dependencies and the documentation. As simple as that. Right? So when I say Maven project is going to make your life simple, make your life easy. So again, there are some versions in the Maven. So the current version is 3. Most frequently asked question: what Maven version you are using? Could be potential enough to answer this. Give the answer. Right? And again, there are some problems that you may face without using Maven. So the question can be like, what are the problems? What are the problems that the developer can face while not using Maven? What are the some problems that the developer can face while not using Maven? So developer needs to take care of adding jars manually. If the project requires 1000 jars, the 1000 jars needs to be added manually, and developer needs to take care of the project structure. I'll tell you what is project structure. Needs to take care of creating the project structure. Project structure. Right? So project structure is, when you talk about project structure, all the frameworks are going to talk about this project structure. For example, if you take Spring Boot, the Spring Boot is going to expect a project structure according to its usage. You need to keep the source files in a particular folder. You need to keep the classes that you want to that are going to test. For testing purpose, you need to specify a separate path for testing purpose. You need to specify a separate path for adding dependencies. So that is how the project is going to get recognized according to the framework. So Spring is going to follow a separate separate path, or you can say that separate project directory. Struts is going to follow a separate project directory. By looking at the project directory, one can come to conclusion that okay, this project directory is meant for the Spring framework, or this project directory is meant for the Spring Boot framework. Each and every project is going to follow a unique directory, unique project structure, I can say that. So that needs to be taken care manually. But if you are using Maven project, these things will be taken care by the Maven itself, right? Third one is building the projects and deploying the projects. Deploying the projects. These are the potential things that one has to take care while developing the project without the Maven tool. If you use Maven tool, all these things will be taken care by the Maven itself. As simple as that. So I can simply say that. Let me put it in red. By taking all these things will be taken care by Maven if a project is built on top of it. As simple as that. The developer can focus only on the required things, only on the developing part. Right? Who is maintaining, or which company is maintaining this Maven? The simple answer is Apache. Apache is the company, Apache is organization that is taking care of Maven. Apache organization. So why these things are required? These things are really required when you learn about this. When you learn about any framework, these things are required. And we have also a type of thing like Gradle. So mostly 60% of the automated tools are working on top of Maven. Remaining 40% is working on top of Gradle. Gradle is also like a built-in tool. It is just like a Maven. Right? Let us reproduce these two steps. So I have already installed Eclipse. Let me open that. Right? We will create a simple Maven project. So many terminologies and so many things you need to understand while developing the first project, and understanding it for the first time is going to help you out in understanding the future topics or future projects. So select a unique workspace. Is getting open, please bear with me. Meanwhile, I will tell you. Firstly, we need to create a Maven project. So in order to create a Maven project, we need to keep three things in the mind. So the three things are like, one is the group ID. Second one is what artifact ID. Group ID, artifact ID, and the third one is version. So the Maven build tool is going to expect these three things from the developer, or these three things from the programmer. Right? Group ID, artifact ID, and the version. Right? So group ID is nothing but if you are working for a company, use your company name as the group ID. When anyone is asking about the group ID, it is nothing but it is just a replication of your company name. Your company name. You can be working in a XYZ company, right? Use that company name as a group ID. First, the second thing is artifact ID. Artifact ID is going to specifically talk about the what project, because one company can be possessing a lot of projects, right? So the project name should be unique, right? If you're working on a particular project, keep the project name as the artifact ID. Version can be anything. You're developing project for the first time, the version name can be like 1.0. If you're doing any updates, 1.1, 1.2. So versioning starts from 1.0. So all these names are unique, right? So the Maven is going to expect group ID, artifact ID, and what? And the versioning name, right? So let us open. So this is how the Eclipse looks like when you download it for the first time. So you see all these things on your left, and don't look at these things because this appear for the first time. Every time if you want to create a Maven project, go to file, new, and there you can see a title called Maven project. Again, the Maven project is going to make things going to simplify the things. Why Maven project? Because this Maven project is going to take care of the external dependencies. It is going to keep your life simple. Right? And click on next. Right, you will get this page. So here you can see a filter, right? In the filter, you need to ensure that you are giving this name Maven space archetype space quick start. So it is Maven space archetype, Maven hyphen archetype hyphen quick start. Select this. Why did we select that? The question is, why did we select that? Let me answer you that. I hope it is simple. So this particular thing is talking about the standalone applications. There are around 2000 such archetypes in Maven. There are about 2000 such archetypes in Maven, but we need to specify that if you are developing a standalone application, right, you need to choose this Maven archetype quick start. Quick start is nothing but the developer is trying to develop a standalone application. If you want to develop any standalone applications, you need to select this. And these archetypes varies. There are a lot of archetypes in Maven. There are about 2000 to 3000 archetypes, but this is just one among them. We'll understand this going forward. Standalone applications. And there are 2000 such. Don't forget this. Just mandatory. So after selecting the archetype, and I am just selecting this. So please make sure that you are selecting org.apache.maven archetype. There are 3 such quick starts. Maven archetype quick start, right? All the 3 such archetypes are similar. So make sure that the group ID is falling under org.apache.maven.archetype. And click on next. Here the group ID is, we have just spoken about this. Group ID is going to talk about the company name. So since I don't have any company, I am keeping the name of the company as Palu. And artifact ID is going to talk about what the project. The project name is Spring. Spring App. Spring App 01. Any name you can give, any meaningful name. The version by default it is going to be like 0.0.1 snapshot. As simple as that. And if you click on finish, the new project will be created. So before doing that, let me save this for your reference. So after this step, right? So I have already categorized that the group ID is going to be the name of the project. Let me write that here. You can give any name, but it should be a project name. And artifact ID is talking about what? Sorry, group ID is talking about company name. Company name. Artifact ID is going to talk about project name. Project name. And versioning by default is going to be snapshot 0.09 version. So after completing all these formalities, just click on finish. So it is going to create a project. The project is being created. It will take some time. So the directory, we need to see the directory. It is taking some time. Okay. Meanwhile, it is taking some time. Let us understand a few more things about this Maven project. So we have created Maven project and we have specified this information. So again, some other information inputs that is necessary are so these things are really necessary. For the first time, it will be a little boring. Developing the first project, we will be following the same things, and these are typically the interview questions that are potential enough to be. This type of questions are expected about the Maven version. Why Maven project? Why not? What happens if you don't use Maven project? What is a Gradle? Gradle is also just like a Maven. So please be informed that the Maven project is going to have 3 categories, right? Group ID. So not only the group ID is not only going to take the company name, it is also going to take what? Going to take you can also keep any other meaningful name apart. You are not working in a company, since you are developing a project, you can take any other meaningful name. But if you talk about the artifact ID, it can take a project name, it can also take a jar file name. You can give any name among this. You can also give a plugin name. It is not restricted only to the project name. Depends upon your circumstances. You can give the names accordingly. If you want to develop any jars, you can give the artifact area jar, or you can give any plugin name. Right? So version. So you can give project version, jar file version, plugin version. And all this ready-made information is provided by Maven with some ready-made archetypes as project templates. So this is one of the ready-made archetypes. This is one of the ready-made archetypes. Maven archetype at quick start under Apache. This is one of the ready-made archetype that is provided by the Maven. There are 2000 such archetypes. Depends upon the usage archetypes. The popular ones are, there are two popular ones. One is to develop a standalone application. Remember this, to develop, if you want to develop standalone application, just use this. Maven archetype quick start for standalone application. To develop web application, we will do these manipulations in the future talk. Instead of quick start, just use web app for web applications. Again, I am saying, when someone is asking about a Maven project is going to make your life simple, and these are the something that you need to follow while developing a Maven project. So this group ID, artifact ID, version. There are some standards that the developer has to follow. If you're not following the standards, no, nothing is going to happen. But standards are always standards, right? When you are following it, it will be meaningful. As simple as that. Right? So let us go back to the project. See, now you see the directory structure. Look at the directory structure. It has the main source main Java, source test Java, and there is a JRE library, some Java libraries, and Maven dependencies. If you see Maven dependencies, by default it is giving you JUnit and AmCrest. So JUnit is used to perform the unit testing. In other words, unit testing is nothing but the developer's code will be tested automatically by using Mockito. Some testing tools are there. Simply, in other words, JUnit testing is nothing but when you develop a code, that code will be tested by the framework itself. Framework will support you to do some basic testing. The basic testing is nothing but unit testing. These dependencies are available by default. Right? This is the project structure. This is the Spring project structure. This is the structure that is drafted by the Maven. You as a developer, you have been created this structure. But if you are not using Maven project, all the structure needs to be created by the developer itself. Developer has to ensure that he is creating the directory structure in such a way that it is following the sequence. So this sequence is representing what? The Spring framework. Without this sequence, if the sequence is violated, then you are not going to say that this is a Spring framework. Spring framework is going to expect this sequence, this structure. This structure is taken care by the Maven itself. So the time saving is there or not. If you are not using Maven, this structure needs to be created by you, by the developer itself. The developer is going to take a lot of time, and if there is any violation in this particular structure, the framework is not going to be the Spring framework. The Spring framework is not going to identify the directory. It is not going to recognize this particular project. When you say it is a Spring project, the Spring project should follow this structure. Let me write this. So simply I can say that after creating Maven project, project structure will be taken care by the Maven itself. The project structure mandatory to get recognized by the framework. This is a typical project structure that is getting recognized by the framework, right? But the question is here we haven't defined, we haven't added any kind of dependencies, right? We haven't added the Spring dependencies. We have just created a Maven project so far. So far, this project is just a Maven project, not even the Spring framework project. So this project will become the Spring framework project only when we start adding the dependencies, Spring dependencies, Spring core dependencies. Till that, this is a typical project where this project could be used to develop the framework related project. What I am saying is, this is just a typical project. It is not even a Spring project, because when you add Spring dependencies, then this project is going to become what? It is going to become the Spring project. Without adding any dependencies, the project will remain as a typical Maven project. So I want to convert this project to Spring project. In order to do that conversion, I have to add the Spring dependencies, Spring core dependencies. We will do that, right? So now the step 3, first let us ensure the Java version. To go here, pom.xml. So pom.xml is nothing but project object model. In this pom.xml, by default, you see some dependencies. See, this is the JUnit dependency added by the Maven itself. To do the unit testing, this dependency is mandatory. So it is added by default by Maven itself. You see here 1.7. 1.7 is talking about what? It is talking about the Java version. By default, it is taking 1.7. But I have an option to change the versions. So if you want to change the version to 16, just give 16 here. Let me copy this. I'm trying to change the Java version. Why Java version needs a change? Because to get the new features, Java 8 is the best. But by default, the Maven is going to give us 1.7. But the Eclipse that I have downloaded is going to support the versions that are higher than 1.8. So I'm taking 16. 16 is the standard version. That's why I'm taking that. You can take any version. I can simply say that by just opening the pom.xml file, the pom file, I will be able to change the Java version. Going to use in Java 16 version. So change the version 16. After changing the version to 16, click on save. Okay. Now we have to do one thing. Go to the project. Right click. Go to Maven. Here you can either select update project. you are making any changes in the pom.xml file, this is the procedure. First you have to save that, then you need to update the project. So that the dependencies, the changes that we are doing it manually, no, all these changes has to get downloaded by the Maven. So we do what? We go to Maven and we just give update project. As simple as that. So now the Java 16 has got updated. Here you're able to see the changes. Java SE 16. Very simple, right? Without using Maven, if you want to make any changes for the Java, you need to do the perfect changes in the class path environment variables. It's going to be a little tricky thing. Right now the changes has happened here directly. Right? So next thing is we need to add what? We need to add Spring dependencies. So let me mark these steps here. So far we have done this many things. We are able to see the project directory. Now we need to add what? We need to add Spring dependencies. Adding Spring dependencies. So how do we add the Spring dependencies? So usually you can use pom.xml file to add any dependencies related to Spring or any framework. But where do we get this information, this dependencies information? That's the question, right? So we can get all this dependencies information in a Maven repository. So there is a repository in the internet where you can download the dependencies by just giving its name. So just go for MBN repository. So this one, click on MBN repository. Just type what we have to type. We need to download jars, right? Jars for Spring framework. So Spring context support. We will get all the jars related to Spring framework, Spring context support. So these are the versions that you can select. So let us take any version, any 5 point something version. So we will take 5.3. We will take this version. So this is the dependencies. You need to just copy this and add it in pom.xml. So all the dependencies that we require, that the developer require for the Spring framework will be downloaded by the Maven itself. You do not have to specifically search for the relevant jars. All the jars that is required for our project will be downloaded by the Maven itself. You need to just copy this information, the dependency information, where in the Maven repository. Right? Go to the project. So here we have one dependency, chain dependency. So now we are going to add the Spring dependencies. Just paste it here. Right? Click on save. Click on save and go to the project. Right click, Maven, update project. All the dependencies will be downloaded from the internet by the Maven repository itself. Look at the dependencies. Previously we have seen only two dependencies, JUnit and Amcrest. Now all the Spring related dependencies, Spring context, Spring Bean, Spring AOP, expression, core, Spring JSON. These are the dependencies that is required for our project. Now the project is perfectly going to be the Spring project because we have the relevant dependencies that is required to develop the first Spring application. So we have simply added what? The dependency tag. So this dependency tag is used by the Maven, and it has downloaded all the dependencies that is required to develop the first application. So if you are not using the Maven project, this each and every dependencies needs to be downloaded by you manually. That is going to be a critical task, very big task. The Maven has made it very simple, right? So just use those, just intag those dependencies in the pom.xml file. All the dependencies, all the jars that are required will be taken care and downloaded by the Maven. So adding principal, what did I just do? Go to MBN repository and select and type print context support get the following dependency tag. This is a dependency tag that you will find in the MBN repository. For every version, for each and every version, there will be a dependency tag. You can choose any version. I have just chosen the 5 version, Spring 5.x version. So you can take, you can also take the latest version, no issues. And add the above dependency tag in the form.xml file. The Maven will download all these dependencies will place it in the exact. This is the important point that you need to consider. Will place these dependencies in the exact or the specified class form. Specified class form. This will be taken care by the by the Maven itself. So this is the proof that the dependencies are added. This is a proof. Before we added these dependencies, these files, these jars are not there. These jars are made available to us only after adding this dependency in the pom.xml. Right? It is making sense, right? Only first application is going to take a lot of time. The remaining core modules is going to be very easy, but this understanding is very important because there are chances that there are a lot of potential questions that can be asked from this particular project development, especially the first project development. So from here, okay, you see first two dependencies are given to you by default. Once you create Maven project, JUnit is available, Amcrust is available. JUnit and is available by Maven by default. Isn't it? It is made available to you by default. The remaining dependencies, from the dependencies, this we have added manually. Manually in the sense, we have used MBN repository and we have placed the dependency code in the pom.xml file. These dependencies dependencies are taken from MDN repository. MDN repository. Maven repository is also called as Maven repository. So this is the main jar file. This first one. This first one is the main jar file. Main jar. Very main jar is called as very important jar. And the remaining jars are what we call it as what? The dependent jars. The first one is called as main jar. The remaining jars are dependent on this main jar. So we can say that this is a main jar. Yeah. And these are the dependent jars. So remembering these things are important because this module, this particular jars are giving some information that you're going to use this bean jar, you're going to use AOP jar, expression jar. So each and every jar has its own significance. Dependent jars. And if you see this, if you observe this, the particular directory src slash main slash java, this particular directory is meant to place, you will always place source code. Source code. Source code in this package. So here you will place test. Under the test directory, you will place unit testing code. Packages. So this Maven dependency is going to have all the dependencies. And dependencies that is required for the project development. And this source code and this target, so these two are just a byproduct of this source and this test file, this main source file, this test source file. So these two sources files, they are used by Maven for the input and the output configurations. These are used by Maven, right? And we know that pom.xml file is used to place the dependencies. Let me write it here. Maven input folders. Let me open that folder. You open this, the same thing you can see. The things that you are going to see here, the same things you can see, but in an orderly fashion. Same things you are going to see here. So here it will be specified according to the project, but here it will be specified according to the folders. In the main folder, subfolder, there will be a lot of subfolders. Under the subfolder, app.java. Same thing you will be seeing here, app.java. The information is replicated here. So instead of using this, you can use this. But this will be used by Maven. This will be used by developers for adding source files. This is for adding test data. Right? Now let's create the first project. This is all about the directory structure and Maven and adding dependencies in the Eclipse. So I have given a lot of information. Now let's start developing a simple project. Simple source code. So tomorrow you should be capable to answer all this. What is a Maven project? Why this project structure is required? Why pom.xml? Without pom.xml, how the things are going to be? This understanding is required. That's why I'm specifying the each and every word. Why these things are really required. Group ID, what is artifact ID, what is a versioning thing. These things are really required. So let us build the first project. To build the first project, here you write under the source main Java folder, you create packages, you create classes, and you will develop projects. This part is for the testing people. This part is for the developers. Of course, even this part is for developers because they develop when they test the programs that is developed by the developers. So this is having the main class. So let us keep this particular thing here. Let me create another package, file new package. You can give any package name, but the meaningful package name can be what? Package name dot class name. That is how the meaningful package name can be given. So for the time being, the package name can be anything. For each and every class, we are going to create a separate package. Why we are creating a separate package for each and every class? For the better understanding. Form dot value dot bean class. Let me create a bean class. In the bean package, I am creating a bean class. Hello. We already discussed what is a bean class. A spring bean class can be represented just to ensure that the object is getting created by the container. We will specify that information in what? In XML file. Right? We just create the class and we give some data, but the object will be created by the container. That specification we will be giving in the XML information, XML configuration file. Right? So for the time being, I'm going to take the class as simple public thing hello. Return hello string. This is a typical class. This is just a class. Let me write it in. This is a Java class and it becomes spring bean class when you specify class details where in XML file. XML file is also called as what? Spring configuration file. We already seen there is a place in Java where we will specify the configuration. File new package form dot spring value dot configure CFGS. So under inside this package, I am creating an XML file. Okay. New. So to create an XML file, we need to choose the XML file in the project folder. Go to other. Here you can see XML file. Click here. Next. File name should be, the meaningful file name should be what? Application context. You can give any name, but application context will be the meaningful XML name. application context.xml. So this is how the XML file is. You can visibly see this is how the XML file is looking like. But you need to follow some set of rules and regulations to give instructions within this XML file. Because you as a developer, we will not use new keyword for the object creation. We will tell the container, we will tell the Spring container to perform the object creation, right? So in order to inform the container that the object needs to be created by the container itself, managed by the container itself, and destroyed by the container itself, we need to follow some rules and standards, right? Rules and standards should be followed on top of XML file, but we don't know what is XML file. The XML files are not just like the HTML file. But in order to understand XML, we need at least 10 to 15 classes to understand XML documentations. Right? But that is not required because for 5 to 6 programs, we'll be using XML configuration. The future topic we'll be using annotation configuration because XMLs are outdated. XMLs are outdated. We are not going to use them. But for keeping the standards, we will copy some information from the Google itself. Right? So go to Google. Just type sample XML configuration or sample Spring Bean configuration. Go anywhere and just copy that. Okay. So this is the one. First line is common. First line is given to us by default. Just copy this information. Okay. I have just copied this information from the Google. Why I have copied this information? Because we want the Spring content. We want the Spring framework to create object. We are not going to use the new keyword. We are letting the Spring framework to create the object, to maintain the object, and to destroy the object. So the instructions needs to be given in the form of XML. So this is how the XML file has to be formatted. Why this is how it should be formatted, we don't know because we are not learning XML. We are just learning Spring. We are just trying to add dependencies. We are just trying to ensure that the framework is creating object. So this is the standard. There should be a bean stack. Inside the bean stacks, we are going to specify our properties. Making sense? Because our job is not to learn XML because XML topic is the out of the top box, out of the box topic, right? So in the bean, here instead of class, let me take bean ID. I will tell you what is ID. Guys, be with me for 10 more minutes. This is completed almost. Just 10 minutes. Okay. The bean ID is nothing but the object reference variable. Anything you can give. I'm going to give hello bean. And here the name of the class should be the fully qualified name. What is a fully qualified name? So this is the bean class, right? So fully qualified name includes the package name and the class. The package is com.ball.bean class dot allow bean. Dot allow bean. login. Okay. So this is not required. So let me copy this. I have already built a simple source code. So now we are talking about the XML configuration. XML configuration. This is the information that I have given in the XML configuration file. So don't think much about this information. So XML is file is expecting some standards, some rules. So I have just defined some rules. Why did I define this? I don't know. Even I don't know why did I define this, but I can say one thing. This particular bean tag has an ID as a class. This class is going to be the fully qualified name. For which class we need to give instructions to the Spring framework for the object creation, that class name we need to give here. First rule. So my intention is I want the Spring framework to create object for this class. Spring containers should come into the picture and they should create object for this particular class. That information I am giving in what? XML file as a fully qualified class name. Okay, if this is fully qualified class name, what is this ID? ID is nothing but the object reference variable name. We used to create objects, right, with the new keyword. So when we create object with a new keyword, usually what we do, object will be created and we used to give a reference variable name, right? That is the same thing that I given here. Here the reference variable is going to act as following. You create object with a new keyword. This is how you identify the object with the reference variable. Same identification I have given it. You can give any name. It's not recommended that you should follow some procedure. You can give any meaningful name, but this should be the complete class name, fully qualified class name. Fully qualified class. Only one tag I have used. In future, we are going to discuss a lot of tag, but my intention is just to run the first Spring application. So I have created the XML file. XML file is ready. Let me save that. And I have created a simple Spring Bean class. Why Spring Bean class? We have passed instructions in XML to create object for this particular class. That's why this must become Spring Bean class. We have discussed about Spring Bean class in our previous session. So the Spring Bean class can also be called as a Pojo class because no external libraries are added. There is no dependency here. We can also call it as what? Pojo class. So if you take app.java, in this app.java, we call it as what? The test application, the client application. Why client application? From here, we are going to control. We are going to control or we are going to run the class. We are going to run the framework. So we can call it as main class or client application. Any class that has main method is called as a main class or client application or test class. Test class. Let me remove this. So here I am not going to use new keyword because new keyword is going to create some what we call it as closely dependent structure, right? Tightly coupled structure. So instead of using new keyword, I am going to follow some other procedure. Here I am going to use a container, application context container. Application context. I will tell you what is application context. Next, equal to new class path XML application context. So here I need to give the fully qualified name of the class. This particular. So com.balu.cfgs cfgs dot application context dot xml. Hope it is making sense. com.balu.cf fully qualified type. Application context.xml is placed under com.balu.tfgs package. So that's why I'm using the fully qualified type. Application context.xml. The second line is allowbean is my class name. Hello. Here I am not going to use the new keyword. I will tell you, I will help you out with each and every instruction. Maybe we are getting some error. Outer println hello dot say hello. So this say hello is not getting recognized. That's it. First application is developed. Let us run this. Okay, context. Application context. There is a mistake here. Small mistake. Application context. context. com.balu.cfgs application is correct on application context.xml. Okay, no worries. Let us do this tomorrow once again. It's not recognizing this class path. I don't know why.